Hi guys, Kathy Vick, Deeply Awake. Do I look writery enough? Writerly, authorly enough? I think so. I'm going to be starting my novel in just a little bit. I'm pretty excited about that. And so here I am. And it's to discuss something that is very important to me. It's a belief that I've held forever. And I don't know if anybody else holds it. I would imagine a couple people do. But lately I've been fed the core of it about the last 3-4 weeks. It's funny how you have a lot of experiences in your life, but without a thread to connect them all, they may just appear to be random events. What's the real reason? What's the purpose? That's always been the underlying thing of what's really going on here for me. And the primacy of personal experience is something that is, I can't poke holes in it. I just can't. I try. I can't. It means your experience watching me is a primary one to you. What you do about it, what you say, how you behave as a result, that's also yours. It's really nice. It's helped a lot. It's helped with this feeling that it's not a feeling, it's a lifestyle choice to live in a state of invalidation. This was my daily bread, and then I managed a number of experiences, a number of relationships, which really just amplified this reality that I am not valid. I am not doing as I'm told. I am not doing as expected. And I'm invalid as a result. Well, although, yes, you can say it's a highly abusive stance to take with another human being, especially if it's a child. But I'd like to know the difference between that stance and what you encounter at an airport, a courthouse. If Trump has his way before you go to church, you can get shook down. You can pass through someone else's paranoia screen. That whole thing is crazy. It's just nuts. Because in that situation, if I present to an airport, I have no intention of blowing up a plane. I have no intention of doing anything but having a pleasant flight. And I have to pass through varying levels of hell of other people's paranoia in order to get on the plane. And paranoid, crazy, frightened people do crazy, paranoid, frightened things. And they frighten others. Fear doesn't work unless everybody's joining in, It's kind of how it works. It's a group virus, group thought virus. So the primacy of personal experience requires that I am attentive to my experience. That's not an act of selfishness. It's not an act of self-obsession. It's an act of responsibility. And so I like that. It's helped me a great deal to realize that this is, you'd think it's not a brand new idea. It has been around a while that the primacy, the necessity, and the required nature of having a personal experience. I think even the way that relationships are set up by this mindset, by this culture. The requirement is that you experience someone else's reality, and often just you can just leave your own reality just outside the door. You'll be having mine. Then that passes for love. So, all right, enjoy that. But I'm gonna be over here having my my personal experience, and considering that valid. And my first priority. Well, I'm a mom, so how does that work? Walk around thinking of the primacy of personal experience. It actually makes everything so much better, because then I don't feel responsible for everything. The other person has a responsibility, because my brain works that I'm responsible for everyone else's reality. So the fix is actually, no, you're only responsible for yours. Oh, really? So this is where I get into trouble, socially. It's just like, it's tricky for me. It's tricky, and this is because I don't just listen to the words and then speak to the words. No. There's the environment in which the person in front of me is in, that we are in. There is their feeling tone. And often, and their misunderstandings, and oftentimes these are things that they are not aware of. I'm aware of them. I can feel them. They're not. And that's a hard thing. I didn't have words for that for most of my life. And the awarenesses have become so acute and so comprehensive. I was told in 2012, when I was in a singing circle, and toward the end of it, there was a moment when we were in between songs, and I looked at every single person, and I felt their akashas, and it didn't take more than like 10 seconds, 5 seconds to look at the person, and I could feel them, know them. I knew what was going on with them. Holy cannoli. And the voice said, this is the order of business for you to learn how to live with this. That's what's happening. That was 6 years ago, and I'm still finding my way. And you can review the work. You'll understand that I had a spiritual, soulic, karmic conversion. I had an ascension in 2012. And that changed the game for me. I'm not what I was before. I'm more. And yet, the very next day, May 26th, I was expected to do what I needed to do to make other people happy. And it's taken me a long time to figure out what that means. So the reason I'm coming to you, I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. Well, let me explain what I think art is, okay? And then I will tell you what I'm going to do. See, I don't think that art is what hangs on the wall like that. Thank you, Gustav. Not really. Those are the trailings. That right there. It's a symbol, but it's a trailing. Someone came up with the color of the cloths and the design. And that's the product. But someone thought it'd be a really good idea to have a square with an ohm on it. That it would be beautiful. I believe that each of us are our own works of art. That the purpose of life, and I have felt this since I was a girl, the purpose of life is to experience it. And the trailings are your art. But the artists themselves, they're also art. I was sculpted by hands, not my own. And yet, as a creator being, I'm moved to create new things, new concepts, new ideas, new shapes, new colors, new designs. We are each living, breathing, laughing, crying works of art. In a culture that profoundly distrusts, mocks, and defunds art. Oh my. So, it's always felt to me that the greatest obligation I have is to my creator and to me as a result, because it's a team project. And it mattered less to me what happened on the outside than what was happening on the inside. Maybe that's why I had a conversion in 2012, you think? In any case, now, I still believe that my life is my art. When my body is preferably spirited away from a mortuary in the middle of the night, thrown in the back of a station wagon and driven out. This is what I asked my buddy to do. I don't see him anymore, so we'll see. I'm putting it out there for anybody who cares enough about me to do it right. My son said he might. Once this life is over and somebody's put me in the back of a station wagon and driven me out to the desert to put me on a funeral pyre so my body can float away into that nighttime sky and I can be breathed in by humanity, even then, once a body's burned up, I'll be standing right there saying, bravo, that was a good show. It was a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. Beautiful artwork. So that means if the primacy of personal experience is really important to me, and it is, it's a lot more than deciding whether I'm going to like myself today. It's sort of like looking at oneself as I looked at those people in that seeing circle, seeing myself whole and still being able to go on. I think that's a pop concern of, if I saw it in its totality, I would, I'd be overcome with guilt or whatever. No, you've actually done pretty good. And most of the stuff that you think you're really screwed up and that you feel guilty for, that's not what's going to get you. It's the stuff that you did unconsciously, that was born silently to get you. So, it's always seemed to me that the most important thing is to figure out what's going on. to reconcile and come to terms with this unconscious, to learn how to work with it, but most of all, day to day, to function with happiness and peace, generosity and patience, kindness and tenderness, wisdom and acceptance. And I fall very short often. It's hard. Socially, it's just the hardest. It may forever be difficult for me. But I know of a few things that help me. And I use those things. I do have disembodied voices that come and remind me of certain things, like the primacy of personal experience, the validity of my soul. Having been thoroughly negated, I appreciate the assist. Now it's been 6 years since I had that conversion. It's been, golly, 7 years since my body decided to go haywire. It was 7 years in just a few days that, that all of this began for me. And it didn't begin with, an entity coming and saying, hello, we'd like to change your life up now. No, it was heralded with explosive and inarguable GI issues. That's how it started with me. I couldn't eat or drink anything without pain and vomiting and diarrhea. Well, considering what I was eating, that was great. I was eating bags of Dove chocolate and drinking, probably a 6-pack of Diet Pepsi a day. And drive-through joints. That was basically my diet. And luckily, the individuals who work with me rescued me. They rescued me by making my gut so messed up that I had to actually become conscious about what I was putting in my mouth. So, why am I here? Well, to give you that lovely gift of the primacy of personal experience. But more. I don't remember when it was. I don't remember if I was in love yet or not. I don't think I was yet. Although, I might as well have been. When I wrote my first novel, actually my second novel, I wrote one novel called Songs of the First Wave or something like that. It was so good. It was so visual and it read like a screenplay. It was so good. And then I wrote essays, but then I decided I would do NaNoWriMo once again in November of, I think, 13. I think. And I wrote Patrick Here's Voices. It was literally my first conscious attempt at writing a novel. I've written plays, I've written essays, I've written poems, short stories, but never a novel. It was literally the happiest I've ever been as a human. Everything made sense finally. I made sense. I was finally in context. I felt so good. And, the problem with novel writing is that you kind of need an idea. And further, with me, the problem is to actually have enough nerve and, momentum to complete it. I'm a really good beginner, not a really good finisher. So it's important to me to have either an outside goal to meet or some sort of internal thing that grows on itself, which is what novel writing does for me. So, and I really feel like the part of being an artist that is required prior to doing your work is what you've seen the last 6 years. It's getting right with self and getting right with I don't know, the hands that made me. And I feel very frustrated because I have so much to offer, and I have laid it out there. My whole soul is just out there for anybody who wants to pick through it. Really, they're just ideas, but they're my ideas, and they're from my experience, and so it means a lot to me. Whether Deeply Awake is ever read widely or not, but I don't expect it. The goal is still in place to winnow all of my experiences down into a small volume called Becoming Deeply Awake, and then distributing that. But before that, I feel such an urgency, finally, once again, to write a novel. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's November, so it's NaNoWriMo month again. And it's raining. It's gonna be like, I don't know, something like 43 degrees up at the claim. So I'm not gonna be rock digging for a while. It's just too cold. My mining partner, we always go with his little doggy. His little doggy is about that big. No, well, maybe like that big, but she's a very delicate creature. And it's got to be warmer than 43. And from what I can remember about the weather, it does turn cold around this time of year. What I'm getting at is I'm going to have some more time, free time now. And I know that some of what makes a life happy is doing things that make you happy. Duh. But, these things, I want to explain that idea about thought virus. But, yeah, so novel writing really makes me happy. There's certain things that make me really happy, and I find that I just get in my way so badly. And that's just so mean. So I'm going to stop that crap by jumping on the NaNoWriMo wagon and hopefully never getting off. The novel I'm going to write is a continuation of the book I wrote in 12 called, Songs from the First Wave, I think it's called. And I can't hardly wait. I get to inhabit such beautiful creatures. Can't hardly wait. And this is sort of the feeling that I would have from time to time in the last few years when I was in love, when I was in a great job. There's certain times in my life when I was just so verdantly happy. And self-defeat was just seemed like a whole lot of work. Not something that, was on the menu for daily consumption. And I'm really grateful that I have the ability. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know how it is that it just makes me want to cry thinking about it. I don't know how it is that I can sit in front of this keypad and create what I create. I have no idea. But after 6-7 years, what I have figured out is that if I don't do it, I don't feel good. And when I do it, I finally feel normal. So I'm going to go be normal today. And I've experimented with it, like because I work in the marijuana industry. I'm a trimmer, so I trim and harvest and stuff like that. I love it. I love it. I love coming home and just smelling like a human joint. I love it. I don't even like to shower after I'm in a grow because I love the smell of it. I love everything about what I do. Why was I talking about that? Oh, I don't even know. But at work, I meet novelists. At work, my work now, I finally meet artists at work. It's just awesome. I didn't. Nursing doesn't really attract a lot of artists. I don't know if you know that about nurses. No one told me. I kept hoping. Yeah, yeah, doesn't happen. I did meet one woman who had gotten an advanced degree in anthropology or archaeology. And I'm thinking more and more about going back to school for anthropology for that. I think that would make a lot of sense. But for now, I don't know why I mentioned the work. I really don't. Oh well, why not? I love my job, but oh honey, I was listening to the people working the other day, and random people are making like $1 and $1.50 more than me. I just really got slapped really hard in the face when it was time for review and pay increase, and it's really, it makes me cry. It makes me want to cry when I think about what they did. They bumped me 15 cents, and I am barely making minimum wage. And there's people making $1.50 more an hour. Well, luckily, not everything depends on that check now. If it did, it would kill me to be so not valued and played with, manipulated. Whew. I do not like how people are treated at work. Not my favorite thing. Not at all. Oh, I feel so bad. I can't remember why I mentioned work. Oh well. What I do know is I'm going to go have some fun now. I'm going to be around people for the next month anyway. In my they're not attempts to write. They're just just afternoons of writing. And after that, I'll be on my own, but not really. Not really. That's the thing when you're writing novels. Not so true with writing expository work, but with writing novels, you're never alone. The characters are always with you. And it's a very lovely partnership. So, with that, I guess I just wanted to tell you that with remembering that the primacy of personal experience, it sets things right for me. It is your responsibility, in other words, to be decent. It's not mine, it's yours. I'm here having my experience, and it's an experience that does not contain manipulation, tricking people, dishonesty. Because I've worked pretty hard at discovering what was lurking there in my unconscious. It matters to me. So the people at work who are, thank God they're making more money than I am. Good on you. It's totally jacked that I'm not, but it's good. They're having their own experience, and it's got nothing to do with me. I love it so much. So I guess to end, I guess what I need to say is, and how do we find meaning? How do we connect? If everyone's having their own primary experience, and it's personal, it can't be reproduced. Well, it really requires a different mindset. I mean, a complete change in values. It's the ability to see what's going on in the culture, and just being able to see it is oftentimes enough. So you've seen me wrestling with it, and I think at the end of it I can say I find the culture that we live in, the American white culture, let's be clear, this white bullshit that seems to be exported to all ends of the earth, is deeply rooted in nihilism. There is no more nihilistic worldview than the scientific worldview about the Big Bang and randomness. And oh my God, they're so fucking lost. They are lost. And what it creates is a mindset of mechanistic reality, cause and effect, and objectifies reality. And it's this mindset. You can call it nihilistic, you can call it nihilistic, you can call it paternalistic, you can call it mechanistic. It is the old way, and it is a virus. It is not the way that human beings are set up to behave. It's just not. The only way that it works is if you have fundamental errors in your understanding what the fuck is going on around here. I know that's strong language. It's important to drill the point home. And I love what Terrence has to say about it, so I'm going to repeat it. But he's merely echoing things that I have thought since childhood. When you look at it, one of the biggest problems here is that males require to know who they've fathered. Biologically, it's not set up that way. You notice that, right? And I do believe that the older religions, having practiced them, having initiated them, the old way doesn't have that as its moral compass, shall we say. Think of everything that's come down the line, because males have got to know if they're the daddy. Marriage, monogamy, so many things. And territoriality. That's my woman. Can you imagine a time where males were not seen like that? They're the value added. Yes, they're quite important to the future of the race. But they understand their purpose. And they've taken themselves out of the societal matrix of going to a patriarchy rather than a matriarchy. In a matriarchy, it doesn't matter who the father is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What does matter? Well, in those cultures, things that we don't think are important mattered very much. Soul, spirit, sacred sexuality, hallucinogens. Those things mattered. And so when you think of the word patriarchy, well, that's very patriarchal. We use that a lot. I think it's time for us to really think about what it means. It means that we're going against biology, and we are focusing on the male as the lineage people. It makes no sense. It's insane. It requires people behave a certain way. And the two ways are mutually exclusive. So the thing that I believe is that there is how we function best as a people and as individuals, that's inside of us. We would not be so upset by the current events if we lacked the knowledge of what is correct and true to do, how to behave. That should tell you something. When the imps are in charge, so I'm excited about this time in my personal life because I'm seeing that I can express myself in ways that previously were very difficult for me. And it's not so much that I like myself more, I just am giving myself a break more. I'm really lucky and I'm grateful that I have voices in my head and a way with the pen, and that I don't know, I like deboning weed plants too. That's I'm really good at deboning. So as my life continues to evolve and change, I feel far less of a need to sum it up and then put it out there. And I think that's really exciting. And as that is shifting, so is this desire and need that I have to novel write finally. Oh, but I know what it was. I was at work. Sometimes people will ask me, so what do you do? Like, I know what you do for money, but what do you do for passion? And I've said I'm a writer a few times. That doesn't work very well because then sometimes they'll say, oh, really? What do you write? And I go, I write about consciousness. There's all kinds of things that I've said. None of it works very well. So yeah, from here on out, hey, what do you do? What's your passion project? Oh, I'm a novelist. Boom. It doesn't need to be said, but it could be said. So be on your best behavior, because otherwise you're grist from my mill. No, I don't do that. But with the happy allowance of expression, I feel more peace. And I guess that comes from not resisting my personal experience and imagining that the God who I love loves me back. So I'm gonna go write, baby. I've got my writing. I love this. I got my writing sweater on and fancy pants, and a story to tell. Finally, I have so many. I have like 6 different novel ideas. It's not like I don't have a novel idea. I couldn't just pull something out and go, okay, I'm going to work on this today. But no, I've been working on this other stuff. I've been working on the artist. And now as the artist sort of can walk through each day and be a little less fucked up, the art can come shining through. It was a weird time. Let's just put it that way. So I'm going to close with something that John Goodman did. I love him so much. And it was right before he lost all that weight. He was on Community. And it was a recurring role. And when the guy came back to do his recurring role, he had a ponytail. And he looked ridiculous because he was like this huge guy with this long, scraggly ponytail. And I loved what he said. Somebody asked him about it, and he said, and the character said, I'm just going through a lot of stuff right now. It's just so, yeah. And there are those in my life who thankfully, let me just be me. And I feel weird about being me, so I tell them thank you a lot, but they just want me to be me. They want me to have my primary experience. You know, my crew said, once you get this information, it'll be like a disinfectant. It truly is a disinfectant. The theory of validity is such a thing. All right, I'm gonna go novel write. I hope you're having a blast. I love you.